In this podcast episode, I'm going to be sharing 5 myths about strength training, particularly after 50, and 5 reasons why now is the time for you to be strength training after 50. I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles, your concerns, and give you some inspiration so that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in this second and better half. I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset, often about what to eat and how to move, so you can get the results that you want, no matter how old you are, at any moment in life, no matter what your exercise history has been. Let's dive in. And before we do, I have to tell you that if you're listening to this episode while I release it brand new, fresh on March 31st, 2021, my 12-week Stronger program is still open, and it is closing as of tomorrow. So if you want in, if this resonates with you, you're not strength training, and you're compelled or looking for a way to find the strength training that is built on science, featuring you as the subjects, women in menopause, because you're not a mouse, not a man, not a young woman, and you have a unique profile of hormones, metabolism, and body composition. Not to mention socialization that will make you question why short workouts will actually work. Then now is your chance. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and I'll allude to this so many times as we go through this, because much of what I'm sharing, the myths that you might still believe, and the reasons that now is the time, come from my students. The thousands of students who've been through our Stronger programs, of which there are now 6 total, only 2 of which have been offered to the public. The one offered right now is called Tone and Define, a slightly higher repetition range, which means you can lift a slightly lighter weight, and therefore get the results, lay a foundation for a lifelong strength training habit without risk of injury. So let's begin. 5 myths. First, myth number 1, you don't have time. My question to you in response to that is always, how much time do you think it takes? You will have to plan the time. You will have to schedule it. But my question is, how much time do you think that it takes? Because often women who are in their 50s or their 60s, meaning their 6th or their 7th decade on this planet, have been told some 30 or more years ago that it took 45 minutes or an hour or more to be worth it to get a workout in. A quality workout is one where you reach muscular fatigue with your major muscle groups. You can do that in a single workout. You can do that in a single set. You can do that in a few repetitions, should you need to. So a quality workout is one where you reach muscular fatigue with major muscle groups. Nothing I just said anything about time. You can do it in 10 minutes or less if you have to, but a great workout requires maybe about 30 minutes, and that's average, plus or minus. Myth number 2, you will get hurt. Listen, your chances of getting hurt are actually much higher from frailty, from falls, from pulled muscles and poor balance due to weak muscles than they are from strength training. Myth number 3, you need a lot of equipment. The truth is, you need a few pair of dumbbells. I refer to them as light and a moderate and a heavier set, And I give you a repetition range. And in fact, I went in depth on that in recent emails to our audience and in recent graphics posted to my Instagram account. And if you're following me there, it's instagram.com/flipping50TV. So you'll find there what you actually need, but a few pair of dumbbells and an exercise ball. And listen, here's the thing. If you're thinking, I can't get any dumbbells, I don't have any dumbbells, I don't want to buy any dumbbells. My guess is you've got some sitting around. You can also substitute water bottles filled with rocks, then sand, then water. That makes them quite a bit heavier. And you could use backpacks full of those coffee table books if you needed to. Myth number 4 is you don't want to lift because you will bulk up. Listen, there's really a very small chance that at this point in your life, you have enough hormones to get bulky now. Part of the reason that if you're listening, you're thinking that you need some exercise support, it's often because of weight loss. And that weight has likely come on, yes, because of hormones, but also because of cumulative losses of muscle that have happened since we were 25 and we peaked at our muscle mass and then progressively lost muscle unless we were lifting weights to do something about it. And one of the only ways that you can get that back is to lift weights. But those losses of muscle that happen because you don't have anymore the hormones that are necessarily for you to keep the muscle. So there's a very small chance you have enough hormones to get bulky now. And I give you protocols within your workouts that help you avoid bulking up. And if you can observe the nutrition side of things and not overcompensate with a bunch of carbohydrates that are more recreational than they are beneficial, we'll be just fine. Myth number 5 is you think you need to lose weight first before you start lifting weights. Okay, we need to really have a chat here. Weight loss happens from increasing your metabolism. And I know you've been told that weight loss happens when you create a caloric deficit. If your calories out are higher than your calories in, you'll lose weight. Unfortunately, that whole dogma ignores the fact that it's not the calories and what they do to your body. It's what the calories do to your hormones, because hormones determine whether you store or you burn fat. And your body cannot do both. So if your hormones are imbalanced, you're going to very likely be storing fat. So even if you exercise, and sometimes especially if you exercise more, because you'll be digging yourself into a deeper hole, you will not be able to lose weight because your body can't store fat and burn fat at the same time. And storage will win. So the only way to increase your metabolism is to do strength training. Increasing your muscle mass increases your metabolically active tissue so that you can burn more calories even at rest, even while you sleep. Contrary to popular belief, cardio will not help you boost your metabolism long term. Listen, I know about the science and some truths that exist about high intensity interval training, and that yes, it does help you to burn fat, but it helps you to burn fat for hours after exercise, as does strength training. But strength training changes your body composition permanently. High intensity interval training requires another hit at some point, pun intended. But I'm saying in this case, more like cocaine. Like you've got to have another hit of that crack in order to increase your metabolism again. When you're strength training, you're adequately overloading the muscles. You're changing and adding more lean muscle tissue. You permanently raise and elevate your metabolism. Minimal evidence exists to show small changes in muscle from HIIT in postmenopausal women. There's a little, but if you really want the optimal benefit from metabolism boosting exercise, it is in strength training. Now, there is one more thing I'll say. This is not necessarily a myth, but I do know for many of you potentially listening, this is a belief. I never see any results anyway. So what's the point? If you've been there, done that, you're there now, here's what I have to say to that. If you're exercising in a specific way and your body is giving you feedback, data, that it's not working, the only thing you have proof of is that what you're doing right now, maybe it's the frequency, maybe it's the duration, maybe it's the timing of day you're doing it, maybe it's the protocol, is not working. But that does not mean that everything won't work. It just tells you right now you have to change what you're doing in order to get results. So let's flip the coin. What about the reasons to exercise? Now I could go right back and hit each one of those myths and give you an answer to that, but that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you some very clear reasons otherwise. Reason number one, no other exercise will improve the way you age like strength training will. Nothing, not yoga, not Zumba, not running, not biking, not swimming, not stretching, you name it. You fill in the blank with your favorite exercise. And you and I can argue until we're both blue in the face, but improving your strength will change the way you age like none other. It potentially will empower you to do more or do better, the kind of other exercise that you like, but it will make you able to do the things that you love with the people you love to do them with when you want to do them. Countless studies point to strength training's power to reverse aging effects of genes, reverse mitochondria damage, and prevent Alzheimer's disease, enhance your muscle, your bone, and your brain health, and so much more. Reason number two to begin strength training. Muscle loss accelerates during late stages of perimenopause and those early years of postmenopause. If you happened to be in that sweet spot, shall we call it that, during the pandemic, when your activity level may have also decreased, and or your strength training specifically may have decreased or been non-existent, you've had a setback in these last 12 months. Now, if you stop it right now and get on the bandwagon, so you're doing something proactively to reverse any muscle losses, any bone losses that you've had, it will be a temporary thing. If you do nothing, it's my belief that collectively, as a nation or a world, we're going to see in 8 to 10 years much higher disability rates. And it will be like having watched the baby boom that happened after war times when soldiers came home from the army. It will be like seeing that 9 months in that case later, but here, seeing it happen 9 years potentially later when we've had the time to see the effect of debilitating losses. Reason number three, bone loss is inevitable as we age without strength training. There is no other way to get it back. Walking only beyond a certain point does that help. And we're talking about if we see a continuum, close your eyes, you see this continuum of sitting on the couch on one end, and if strength training with heavier weights or as heavy as you possibly can to reach muscular fatigue is on the other end. In between there is standing up, there's walking. But guess what? There are no more points for walking more. Walking, once you've reached a minimal threshold, your body weight is actually the same or probably lower. And there you have less impact on the bone, and the bone needs something impact, something pushing against it, some outside force. So there's not enough minimal effective stress, MES, by walking and doing the same repeated steps of same load to further help bone density. So if you walk a mile, walking 2 or 3 or walking 4 or 5 times a week does not improve your bone density. So you're robbing yourself actually of time that could be better spent doing strength training twice a week. And that's proven in science over and over and over again. You can't outrun, you can't out Zumba, you can't out yoga or walk bone density losses. There is no substitute for strength training. Reason number 4 for strength training after 50. Frailty, falls, and fractures lead to earlier mortality. Your weight, whether it's high, whether it's low, or whether it's average, does not exclude you from being frail due to what is called sarcopenia. That is significant muscle loss. Generally, that significant muscle loss is not measurable by simply looking at a body weight and smart scale that tells you your percent of muscle or percent body fat, where we can then calculate percent of muscle, because most women have never measured muscle before those losses occurred. I mean, think about yourself. If you're now measuring on a smart scale your weight, your percent body fat, and or your muscle, when did you start? Maybe after someone made you aware that that was imperative, that you measured that, because percent body fat is so much more informative about your level of fitness and your level of positive or pro-aging than your weight alone is. But if you had measured when you were 30 or you were 40 and you were at your or closer to your peak of muscle mass, that would have been more informative of what's happened to you since then. So generally, sarcopenia is measured by strength and being able to predict where you are according to an age-related factor. That's done with grip strength. We don't use that. I don't use that at Flipping 50 because obviously I would have to be with you. We would have to take you into a lab in a clinical situation and use a study. We're not going to go to the store and to Target and to buy that hand grip and increase that and or measure how many times to fatigue, because that's endurance. It's not strength. You actually have to be using something that truly measures at a university or a clinical setting. But we do know that we've got to prevent those muscle losses to prevent frailty and sarcopenia. Reason number 5 to begin strength training. Muscle strength is much more within your control. Gaining lean muscle and gaining strength is much more within your control than is fat loss. If you set out to lose weight or to lose fat, we don't have control over that. We do have control over the actions we take to do it. And if you are on the right path and you take the right actions based on being a woman in the age and stage that you're in and paying attention to the hormone status that you're in order to do it, you may be on a better road. However, we still cannot control what your hormones will do with the actions that you take. And there are often underlying things happening. Inflammation. There may be stressors, cortisol happening. Muscle strength is something you can monitor, manipulate, and we can control. While fat loss has many variables, a chief one being stress. And then there's inflammation. Your body won't potentially shed fat with high stress levels and or inflammation. There you have it. If you're listening to this on the day I release it, March 31st, Stronger is open. If you're hearing it later, you may get on a notifications list and wait until the next time it comes around. But don't wait 3 months to start. Nobody, least of all me, wants you standing or sitting on the free throw line not doing something proactive. Strength is not one of those things that can be put off until there's time, until it's convenient, until you retire. Disease, stress, and therefore muscle and bone losses continue even when you're not looking and you're too busy. They have a heyday, in fact, when you say you don't have time or energy to exercise or to eat right. I'll put the link in the show notes and I'll be looking for you. This is your time. So what are you waiting for? Let's start flipping 50 today.